I challenged 4 of my friends to each create a Naruto OC to be placed in a non-canon genin group. But what they didn't know is I would be picking apart and rating each one of their characters and even team dynamic to see their creative competence not as individuals but as a group of people working together. Now, we're going to be rating them on a scale of 5 shuriken. Their character needs to meet the criteria of 5 different topics. 1. Does the character fit inside of the world of Naruto? 2. Is the character balanced? 3. Does the character or their backstory go off the rails or overboard? 4. Does the character meet the criteria of the challenge? And 5. Is the character cool? On top of that, if this series is to continue, we will make it so that any character that gets lower than a 3 on the rating scale and the person who created said character would not be able to participate within another video in this series, or at least until the end of the first season. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Let's start off with my friend and fellow YouTuber, Kid Zeus. His character is a 23-year-old black male Sarutobi named after himself as Zeus Sarutobi. Obviously, the clan he is a part of is the clan of the 3rd Hokage, the Sarutobi clan, and for Kekkei Genkai or Dojutsu, even though he had the option of something like Mud Release or Ash Release, he decided to not do either. His ninja type is that of a ninjutsu specialist, and his nature affinities are earth and water. For specialized jutsu, he decided to pick the earth clone jutsu and a variant of the transformation jutsu, while his weapons consist of a bow staff, a bow and arrow, and a kunai. For utility, he picked paper bombs. On the other hand, his general info is where his character view gets a little skewed and actually throws his ranking or rating off by a bit. For his general info / character description, he said that Zeus was born and raised in the Leaf to an ex-citizen of the Cloud and a member of the Sarutobi clan. From the age of 5, he showed a vast talent for ninjutsu, so he began his training at the Ninja Academy, where he joined the Anbu after graduating at the age of 7, giving him an early namesake as the Furious Hunter of the Leaf, killing over 1,000 shinobi, but wanting a better life, he becomes a sensei for the Leaf. Even though at first the character started off really solid, it quickly went astray with its character description / general info section, and that is going to alter its rating, even if only by a bit. So let's start on his rating, starting at criteria number 1. Does this character fit into the world of Naruto? In terms of explanation for things like his skin tone and even the clan of choice, and the fact that he has the nature transformation that he does, I think personally that he fits really well into the Sarutobi clan and thus into the Naruto world. He did a great job on his sheet itself and thus gets a checkmark to does the character fit inside of the world of Naruto. Criteria 2. Is the character balanced? Even though I would like to say that the character is not balanced because of him lacking a lot in specialized jutsu, as he only possesses the earth clone and a transformation, a clone jutsu in itself can go far beyond what one might think. On top of that, I did not specify that characters had to list if they had something like a summoning or any alternate jutsu, only the jutsu they specialize in. So in terms of strongest jutsu, I would assume him to be a ninjutsu based stealth type, as he specializes in the transformation and a strong type of clone in the earth clone. Obviously, he could have a lot more in terms of what he's capable of due to not only having a vast array of weaponry, having both a bow and arrow for stealthy takeouts, being specialized in things like kunai, and even having prepared paper bombs. On top of that, he has a bow staff for close range combat. So overall, I would actually say he passes this criteria since he might have some more under his belt. So is this character balanced? Yes. Number 3, does the character or their backstory go off the rails or overboard? Most definitely. Even though the character itself is pretty balanced, in terms of its backstory, it does go a little overboard. Even though there are precedents for this in the world of Naruto, for example, characters like Kakashi and Itachi graduating and becoming Anbu at a very young age, I still think this goes a little into that main character syndrome I mentioned before. So I do think, sadly for this, the character is gonna receive a yes. It did go a bit overboard and thus loses a point. Number 4, does the character meet the criteria of the challenge? By all intents and purposes, not only fulfilling the role of a Jonin instructor, but also having a pretty balanced arsenal for teaching a group of genin, I would say that this character most definitely fits the criteria of the challenge, and thus I would give it a pass and yet another point. And now finally, number 5, is this character cool? By all intensive purposes, this character is very cringy, graduating at a young age, forced to murder and bash his way through the world as an Anbu. I do think that this is a little on the cringy / ironic side, but for all intents and purposes, a lot of people find that cool since most Naruto fans either really like Kakashi or really like Itachi. So for this one, I would say yes, this character is cool. He has a cool dynamic. Obviously, he was an Anbu, and at this point, he is repenting for what he did as an Anbu by raising a new generation of shinobi to be better than himself, giving Zeus a final score of 4 shuriken out of 5, meaning Zeus had passed the OC challenge. And for how the character looks, he'd look a little bit something like this. Obviously, this is a piece made in Shinobi Strikers, and then its appearance in the thumbnail was drawn by friend of mine and YouTuber A Spectrum D. His link will be down in the description, so will everyone else who participated in this video. If they don't have a YouTube, I will link their Instagram or Twitter. So without further ado, that brings Zeus's character to a close. Next up, we have the character of a fellow YouTuber friend and channel editor, Raijin Sage. His character is a Senju by the name of Sugikiri, obviously a part of the Senju clan. Sugikiri is age 14 and obviously dark-skinned, aka black. In terms of dojutsu or Kekkei Genkai, Sage had decided to restrain from adding one. On top of which, similar to his sensei, he specializes in ninjutsu. And as a nature affinity, he had decided to pick wind style and a secondary lightning style. On top of that, his specialized jutsu specifically consists of the substitution jutsu, a jutsu used to escape tricky situations, the gale wind jutsu of the wind style release, and the lightning release earth flash. All around a solid assignment of jutsu which aren't too complicated to master and would be more than useful in combat. On the other hand, for weapons, he decided to go with the knuckle duster, kunai, and shuriken, and for utility he decided to take ninja wire similar to Kakashi along with a few paper bombs, leaving him with a very solid inventory / lineup for his character, only leaving his description / general information. Under general information, Sugikiri has a single father who wishes for him to become a doctor / medical shinobi type, and his favorite color is red, along with his love for spicy food. He owns a ninja cat named Steve and has the ultimate goal to train a squad of ninja pets. Overall, on top of the very unique approach to his character, its balancing is on point and its general info has a unique structure. On top of that, I think overall, Shigekuri Senju is probably the best character we've seen so far, as he checks off practically all our boxes. Talking about boxes, let's get to the criteria. 1. Does this character fit into the world of Naruto? Even though he is a part of the Senju, which are a clan that have been gone for quite the while, I do still think that Shigekuri Senju is a very solid character, and depending on the time period in which this could be set, he could be used in a very unique way. So, to the question of does Shigekuri fit into the Naruto world, my answer is yes, most definitely. 2. Is this character balanced? In terms of ninjutsu, even though he did decide to pick some higher end ninjutsu, it is nothing that can't be learned as a genin. So even though I personally wouldn't start him off with anything but the substitution straight out of the academy, I think that this lineup is more than solid and actually fits fairly well for an upcoming character, since he had not picked any, I'd say, A rank or S rank jutsu. Sticking around B to D rank, I think he did very well in creating his character, and in terms of balancing, I think he is a great addition to the Naruto world. 3. Does the character or its backstory go off the rails or overboard in any way? I'd say definitely not, even though it's a little far-fetched to say that his goals are to train a squadron of ninja pets. I think the way he described his character as having a father who wants him to live a normal life, having everything from relatability and a favorite color to a love of spicy food, I think he set up his backstory near perfectly, giving him not only a ninja pet in the form of his ninja cat Steve, but also an outstanding goal going forward that isn't completely overboard. So, for terms of does this character go overboard? No, he doesn't, scoring him yet another point. 4. Does this character meet the criteria of the challenge? Of course it does. Not only does he fit very well into that of a genin squad with a lot of room to grow, he already brings a lot to the table. So does he work as a newly graduated genin? Kinda. So in this perspective, I do think Sage did very well in setting up this character, as I said previously, and that it does meet every single criteria I had set behind the scenes for characters being made. So as far as the criteria is concerned, it has been met, scoring him a 4th point. And finally, is this character cool? Most definitely. Everything from the name to the setup to the ninjutsu and even his backstory. I think that Shigekuri Senju is a very solid character that I would actually find myself rooting for in a story, especially with his goal to train ninja pets. I think his love for animals really resonates with me and would also do so with other Naruto fans. Also, with the inclusion of Steve, I have to give him this point. Steve the Ninja Cat's already one of my favorite characters and I haven't even seen him yet. So that brings Sage's final score up to 5 shuriken out of 5 shuriken, giving him the first perfect score of these challenges. Leaving us only with, once again, his design made of Shinobi Strikers, which is this picture you see on screen, and of course his design in the middle of the thumbnail art. That leaves off Shigekuri, Sage's character, with a perfect. Next up on the chopping block / dissection board, we have Laination and his character, whom shares a name. At the age of 12 and dark-skinned, he is not a part of a clan, nor does he possess any dojutsu or kekigenkai. But on the front of his type of shinobi, he specializes in both taijutsu and ninjutsu, which is a pretty solid pairing, giving him both close range and mid-range options. His nature affinities are fire and earth, and he specializes in the headhunter jutsu and fireball, so he restrained from giving himself a little too much. In fact, those are the only jutsu he knows to start out with, including some things he learned in the academy, for example, stuff like the substitution jutsu. On the other hand, his weapon of choice is both a bow staff and a nunchaku, meaning on the hand of the bow staff, he has some excellent synergy with his sensei. For a utility item, he only picked a kunai, and he practically left out general information / character background, not having added anything. So, in terms of what he accomplished or how he matches up to the criteria, For the does he fit into the Naruto world, believe it or not, he actually does so a little more well than the others. Obviously, not every shinobi can be a part of a clan, so can every shinobi not necessarily have this incredible array of jutsu before even graduating. So in terms of a new genin, he probably meets this description better than the other two genin candidates. On the other hand, the lack of general information does make him a little more boring. So, in terms of 1, does this character fit into the world of Naruto? Yes. 2, is this character balanced for the age and period? Most definitely. 3, does this character's backstory go overboard or off the rails? No, since he didn't even add one. Does this character meet the criteria of the challenge? Since he didn't fail anything, technically, yes. And is this character cool? Sadly, due to a lack of information, I would have to say no, he is not cool, giving him 3 shuriken out of 5 and the overall lowest score out of any of the candidates. And now in terms of general appearance, he would look something like this piece here from Shinobi Strikers, obviously resembling a lot someone like Kakashi. Even though he fulfills a similar role to someone like Sakura, he still does show some proficiency, not only knowing the headhunter but also the fireball by the time he graduates the academy, but also having pre-unlocked chakra natures. Sure, he doesn't belong to any notable family or practically have any backstory, but I think this appearance is very fitting, as it not only gives some privacy to his life, but also allows for some additional protection around the hand areas. Also, this is his appearance in the thumbnail, of course, leaving us with not much option but to move on to the next character. And last but definitely not least is my friend over on Discord and active admin in my Discord server, the Holocron Sentinel, with a character who shares his name as Sentinel Akamichi, a 12-year-old dark-skinned male with no dojutsu or notable Kekkei Genkai. The type of shinobi he decided to be was one that specializes in kenjutsu with a wind and fire style affinity. On top of that, his specialized ninjutsu would actually be the Gale Palm, the Fireball, and just the general enhancement of chakra weaponry. Obviously, this could make for some very interesting moves with the Akamichi clan jutsu included. For example, a flaming spiky human boulder, as we see in Shippuden, or variants of such, including many weaponry that fall under the category of kenjutsu. And talking of his weaponry, or his arsenal per se, the weapons of choice he holds on him are a katana and a wakizashi on his side, and a bow and arrow on his back. Obviously, for utility, he has some very interesting picks, being a smoke bomb and paper bomb duo, and for general information, he does have some pretty intriguing stuff written down, such as timeline. For his character description, he added that he was born in the Leaf 2 years before the Ninetales attack, which led to his mother, a civilian, dying, and him being raised by his father, whom was a part of the Akamichi clan. Obviously raised to serve the clan and become an excellent shinobi. This is interesting for the reason that it does put a timeline to our characters, as him being 12 ascertains to this happening 10 years after the Ninetales attack and 2 years before Naruto's graduation. Meaning, if this does come to fruition, there is a large possibility that this story would eventually overlap with the Naruto timeline. But nevertheless, let's move on to his criteria. 1. Does this character fit into the world of Naruto? Yes, actually pretty well. As an Akamichi side branch member, it is actually very nice to see that he actually thought that out and even added the part of him having a civilian parent that actually died during the Ninetales attack. Obviously not only aligning to canon, but also giving it its little own bit of oomph or spark. And on the other hand, that does give him a singular point so far. Is the character balanced? Even though tricks like the flaming human boulder do become apparent later in Shippuden and would be a little unbalanced for early on, he didn't directly mention it, so for this specific character, I would say yes, it is pretty balanced for a Genin to Chunin character. 3. Does this character go overboard in their backstory in any way? Actually, I think not. I think his backstory specifically fits in really well with the Naruto world, having set in not only a timeline for this story, but also lining up with canon events really, really well. 4. Does this character meet the criteria of the challenge? Yes, actually, I feel this character met the criteria of the challenge near perfectly, leaving him actually pretty well off with only 4 points so far and 1 left to obtain. Being 5th, is this character cool? Even though the concept of being an Akamichi that specializes in Kenjutsu could be considered really cool, there is nothing per se very unique about his character description or any unique jutsu that would give him that cool guy moniker. So for this, I'm going to give him a half star, as I do see this character having a lot of potential, leaving him with a 4.5 ninja stars out of 5, meaning we practically wrapped up all 4 characters. Now it's time to move on to the group. Now, the criteria of the group is a little different from the criteria for each individual person and do consist of 5 new points, with only 1 of them somewhat remaining. The first point is, does this group work as a new shinobi team in Konoha? The second point is, does this group have synergy as a group? 3. Does this group have potential to grow in the world of Naruto? 4. Is this group balanced as a group? And 5. Is this group or its dynamic considered cool? Starting off with the first point, we have, does the group work as a new shinobi team in Konoha? Even though there are usually some alterations when it comes to new shinobi groups, for example, the presence of 2 males or 1 female, I don't think that's perfectly essential, as we see groups from other villages having 3 male members, or even a group that was supposedly from Konoha during the tuning exams, of course referring to Kabuto and his team, having been 3 pure males. So I think there is precedence for a male sensei with 3 male students, so I don't think this would discredit that in any way. 2. Does this group have synergy? In terms of sensei to student, this group has near perfect synergy, with their sensei being capable of teaching each of them something unique, being it a literal jutsu, a master of an infinity, or even outright kenjutsu, as a lot of these students do possess weaponry and do prefer to specialize in said weaponry. Meaning that is yet another star for the group as a whole. 3. Does this group have potential to grow in the world? And in terms of balancing, I think it actually fixes a lot of things going forward, similar to how Team 7 was founded, with a close to mid-range specialist, a long-range specialist, and someone who didn't exactly have a place. But in this specific situation, our resident Senju actually does perform ninjutsu, so he wouldn't be too out of place how Sakura was. But as he said, his father does wish for him to become a doctor, meaning that might actually result in him becoming a medical shinobi that would amazingly fit into this group. Meaning, similar to Team 10, I think in 2, 3, or even possibly 10 years, this group would be on the level of the Sani, if not around that level. I genuinely think with the right guidance and the right situation, this team could be a group to be trifled with. So in terms of, does this group have potential to grow in the shinobi world, I think more than any other. 4. Is the group balanced? As I said earlier, in terms of balancing issues, that would kind of fix itself over time, but for right now, not exactly. Even though the group has synergy and has precedent to be very balanced along the lines, right now we have a bunch of people who would overlap with each other, including the sensei's presence in both ninjutsu and kenjutsu, a kenjutsu specialist, a ninjutsu specialist, and someone who performs constant taijutsu. I just don't think that there is a lot of precedent for having them all simultaneously on the same battlefield. Thus, I would actually say, in terms of balancing, there is actually a big issue, meaning I would not give them this star, leaving them with 3 out of 4 so far. And now for the last point, is the group or its dynamic cool? Thinking that this is an all-male group already gives me a lot of story ideas, and on top of that, the balancing that fixes itself down the line, the group having a lot of synergy, and even the unique precedent of all the characters being dark skin of some form. I actually do think this makes it a great dynamic, not only in terms of character appearance, but also character execution later on when these players or these creators would actually have a chance to use their character in a role play like story. So for is the group cool, or is the group's dynamic cool, I would definitely give them a star here. Meaning that in total the group got a 4 out of 5, which is really, really solid. Leaving us with only one thing to really discuss. As I said earlier, the players slash creators would actually have a chance to play these characters in some sort of game or story. That would actually be in the form of a Naruto based TTRPG that I might be running if this video does well enough. So if you do want to see a Naruto form TTRPG, make sure to leave a like and comment down below that you would actually like to see a story for these characters, as I myself would be more than willing to do one. And with that, there's nothing much left to go over, meaning I could bid you adieu. This has been Sixmeister. Our editor is Raijin Sage. Peace out.